Today we are here to tell you about the news of SJA. The teachers of Sir John Adamson are having a very good party. Let's listen to what they have to say.
Miss Polani, what do you have to say?
Woo! I'm having such a good time.
Right back to Miss Rasul.
Woo!
I think she's a bit tipsy. Miss Gladla, any comments?
Hi, man. No.
Her comment is, hi man. Miss Rohoso, sorry, Miss Tikeng. Mrs. Tikeng, any comments?
No.
How is married life treating you?
It's tiring.
Miss Nembe. Oh, by the way, this is all at Sir John's Christmas party. Miss Nembe?
Do I really have to say anything?
Yes, how was your first Christmas party, Sir John?
Oh, this is your first one. Welcome, welcome.
Can you save that for later?
I'll save it for later. We're already here. I'm doing some drinks.
Miss Huyamora?
Thinking about.
No, she said if you can say Huyamora, you can say Hamanyane. So everyone's like, yes, so everyone's Huyamora.
Said in the meeting.
That's what I said.
Yes, that's what she said. All right, are we done? No, why did I take over Pelo's job? Reporting back to Miss Jas.
Well, welcome back. After that lunatic insert,
We are Bora Pelo.
now we know that the educators of Sir John Adamson are as crazy. Thank you very much for watching.
Know that at the end of every year, we also say goodbye to staff members. And I think in our case, it's actually, it's a very sad occasion to say bye-bye to friends. People are so used to Vivian already, and the time went by so quickly. It was just yesterday when Melina went off and Vivian came in a place to come and help us out. And we want to say thank you to Vivian for helping us out over these past few months. And you've become part of us. And it was already difficult the past few weeks when you were not here. People are so used to you, so we say thank you.
You know, every family have different family members. You have your drunk uncle. I'm not gonna say who. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it was nice being here. I enjoyed my stay. I've learned a lot. I've met interesting people. Some a little bit weird, but I think that's fine. But mostly, let me thank Mr. Mayers for bringing me to his team, his family. If it wasn't you, sir, I wouldn't be here. And I think you made everything possible. And when I got here, I was welcomed with warm hands. Miss Ash was my neighbor in that oven. Like in summer, that classroom becomes an oven. In winter, it's a cooler box, you know. But I learned a lot from her, and she's younger than me. Looking at her, work with the kids and all that, it was inspiring, and I learned a lot, and I was surprised. Wow, you know, young people can do this. Madam Dlaza, she was my mentor when I came in, also younger than me. But it was nice working with her also. My HOD, we worked well, it was nice. Mr. Jibai, missing. Okay, missing in action. I'm not going to say anything about him because he's not here. But anyway, everyone else, thank you very much. It was nice being here, and I will surely miss you. However, he said something about sport, so that means you'll still get to see me next year. Next year, I will be here. Whatever team that I'll get there, I'm coming here. And hopefully I'll beat him. Thank you.
Typing teacher was to teach learners to do touch typing. Keep the fingers on the correct keys and to type accurately. If the learners looked on their hands, I covered them with little material aprons. The typing learners could type accurately, fast and smart, and guess what? They could not correct their mistakes with a delete button. And they had no screen on with a spell check icon. In 2002, the computer was introduced to schools. Change. Computer magic. Word processing, spreadsheets, PowerPoint, the internet. A new world opened for me. I have had the privilege to empower the learners in CAT and Compute topics for the past 12 years, and I'm proud to say that learners like Miriam Api and Arjuna Sukraj acknowledge that they benefited greatly. Staff. I'll never forget our staff lunches in the Boysons Hotel and the after parties at Johnny and Nancy Mayer's house. We were in the early hours of the morning. Ladies and gentlemen, today is a very sad day in my life. 26 years and 39 years of teaching. To the young staff members, please note it is important to choose the correct career which will add to your happiness in life. Teaching has been the most rewarding career, and I thank God for the wonderful job and people He placed in my life. Mr. Myers, I have 2 words to describe. Dynamic. Thank you for keeping us together by setting the example. You are the best principal in the world. Therefore, I salute you. Mr. Detroit, whenever I was ill or feeling down, you encouraged me. Thank you for your prayers and always showing your sincere love for God. When I started at Sir John Adams in 1980, I met a very beautiful teacher who has since become my friend, HOD, and my deputy principal, Meryl. I have seen you grow and am proud of your achievements. You are such a professional, sincere person, and I will never forget you. Madam Wellington. Well, madam, you have been my HOD for the past 6 years. You are a brilliant lady, and your hard work and diligence is respected. Thank you for believing in me and entrusting me with the CAT department in my hand. I will surely miss you. Before Madam Wellington became the HOD of Commerce, I had the privilege to work under Mrs. Williams. Wendy, I admire you. You are a strong woman. You are talented, and your passion for teaching has always inspired me. You will always have a very special place in my heart. Bridget, I'd like to thank you for your support through all the years. I have seen many learners rise from grade 8 to grade 12. We laugh together and cry together. Miss Nicola, Miss Nicola was in my registration class when she was in grade 9. She was always well-mannered, brilliant, and beautiful. Elizabeth, you are still the same, and I'm very pleased to see how you have grown in this profession. To everybody else, Kevin, the front office staff, and Traini, and Stephen and the ground staff. You are the willing workers, and your contributions helps to create a highly functional school and is appreciated. To the rest of the staff, We at Sir John's, the family, stand together through thick and thin. We cry together and laugh together. Set goals, achieve goals. You are the most amazing group of people, my family. It has been a privilege and honor for me to be a staff member of Sir John Adamson High School. I will miss the investitures, the valedictions, the matric dances, but most of all, I will miss you dearly. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you for being the best business economics teacher and always being kind. Because even when I still at varsity, you would help me with assignments, and I know people knock at your door, even though you were cooking. And thank you, ma'am. And for those of you that didn't know, the reason why I decided to go into teaching was because of Mrs. Williams. And at the time, I remember telling you in your classroom that, ma'am, I'm going to teach business economics one day. And now the day has come. Thank you, ma'am.
We dream of retirement. Think it's so long in coming. Believe me, it doesn't take that long. Ask Bridget and Elise. I'm sad that that day has come. I enjoyed every minute in the classroom. It was a pleasure teaching wonderful young people in our own wonderland. Teaching is a great responsibility, and we don't realize the tremendous impact we have on young people. Colleagues, don't lose your passion. You do make a difference. My daughters, Leanne and Hayley Sue, have always been part of Sir John. They both matriculated here and often share with others that they are so proud to have been at the school. They attribute their success in life to the solid education you gave them. When I was reflecting on a token of appreciation for each of you, the most practical thing, your very own teaspoon. And I asked Sandra and some people at our table just to give you your teaspoons, because there's nothing more annoying than going to the kitchen and there's no teaspoon. Take it home. You must leave it at school. It's to use at school when you go to school for tea or
Now I have my own teaspoon.
the glasses on the table. You can see they've all got their own teaspoons. Dear friends, thank you all for enriching my life on a daily basis and providing so many loving, lasting memories. Friendship is not about whom you have known the longest. It's about who came and never left your side. Latus Mahorn.
I've tried to be a comedian. I'm not as good as an orator. My father was the one that had the sense of humor. He had 6 children. He had to have a sense of humor, and I was the oldest. And then also to let you know that when I entered the teaching profession, just because my father had 6 children and he couldn't afford to send all 6 to university, that we could get a bursary either teaching or nursing, or you could work in the bank. So I chose teaching, and that took the financial pressure off him. But I was so naughty at JCE that in my final year, they they tried to fail me in my teaching practice, that I'd gone to extremes to make it a good teaching practice, because apparently at a staff meeting it was discussed that I was an undesirable element entering the teaching profession. I'm the only one in that group that is still teaching.
Wow.
All right, so I'll begin here. Telling people that you spent 41 years at one school is amazing to some, and others think she's nuts. I looked at the definition of loyalty, and I found out that it actually means that you can't get a job anywhere else. I started my teaching career in 1968, and I taught for 7 years before arriving in Mr. Archer's office at this school asking for a job. I just come back from Zimbabwe. I taught under 6 principals in my time at Sir John, and I moved 9 times, moved house 9 times. Thinking back on when I taught physical education, some of you have seen it, I kept a book of some of the classification for the child not to do physical education, and one of them said that the girl had cartridge trouble and was under the doctor at the moment. So I have to correct my phrase by saying that I've taught under the leadership of 6 principals at the school. In 1981, I was appointed HOD for practical subjects. Now, some of you remember we had an ABC stream, and the practical subject, the girls were supposed to be in standard 8 and go and do hairdressing or whatever, and the boys had to go into some kind of a trade. So that was the practical course. The boys called themselves the Spanner Club. Okay, and in that time I was head of department for physical education, music. Vanette was actually in my department. You won't believe it, Vanette used to play the piano beautifully and teach singing, but she tells me she's forgotten how to play the piano. Woodwork and metalwork. Then in 1984 I was appointed as the head of department for biology. That also included physical science, natural sciences, and home economics. God bless Jenny Turner. I also acted as HOD for a short while for maths, history, and geography. So the saying goes, Jack of all trades, but master of none. Just call me Jack. Wendy had basically the same experience teaching many, many subjects. Now in teaching, you have to accept that some days you're the pigeon and other days you're the statue. I always preferred my work in the classroom more than my work as an HOD. Not that I disliked being an HOD, but the classroom was where I was in my element, and I always had that passion for teaching. When reminiscing about my time at Sir John, I remember the good times more than I remember bad times. I also wondered, over the years, what legacy would I leave behind? I honestly used to think that if I passed away and they had a memorial service for me at school, I wondered what people would say at my funeral. And I also wanted that fabulous choir to sing at my funeral. So even though I'm leaving, just remember that. Huh? I know that God sent me to the south of Johannesburg. He needed a social worker, not just a teacher. And my work at Sir John in the community in this area, I think I've fulfilled his plan. If I consider the communities that send their children to this school, and we were talking about those notes that the parents wrote. Those notes were written by Portuguese parents who were not educated, and some of them were probably really just gardeners. If I look at those notes, today some of the notes read exactly the same, with bad English, poor English, but you never ever put anybody down. They were so proud to send their children to this school. And we actually have produced this school, you, and all the principals have produced the most wonderful, wonderful students. So I think that Sir John is known for in the area. So, what legacy have I left behind? Marine. Where's Marine? When I first arrived at the school, I introduced a grade 8 or standard 6 orientation program. We had one day of all the physical activities offered at the school, all the skills, hockey skills, basketball, long jump, and at the same time we had short sprints. Then we taught them about their house, what color the house was, and we had a little gala the next day, and they had to give us war cries, and we also at the same time were looking for swimmers. And that is the gladiatrix today. During one of those events, by the way, there was a nice sunny day, one cloud in the sky, and it threw a bolt of lightning. We still had rugby posts, and it hit the rugby post. And any little person, because they were all grade 8s, in the vicinity of about 6 meters from the rugby post got picked up by this power of the lightning and flung. So we rushed them all in here, and then we physically checked all of them. They had burned flash marks on them. And then we were accused of holding the activity out on the field in the middle of a storm. It wasn't a storm, it was just a cloud with a lightning bolt. And we had to take some of the children to the South Rand. And I remember this old doctor walking with the children down the passage because he was checking to see what their mobility looked like. And he had quite a sense of humour. He told the boy to put his money on lightning bolt at Turpentine that day. Right, then the other thing is we had, many, many years ago, they introduced a merit system. And the merit system, you were assessed very similar to the IQS that you have today. We were given points for various aspects. And then what would happen is we would sit in a meeting with our circuit inspector, and all the staff would be ranked from best to worst. Elise, by the way, was on the top of the list at one meeting, and this circuit inspector did not believe that anybody could be that good. He wanted us to back down and drop our marks, and we refused. So there was literally a stand-up fight at this evening meeting, so everybody took a break for coffee. We came back, we sat down, and he looked at Alan Sutherland and he said, "What do you say, Mr. Sutherland?" And Alan dropped his head and he said, "I'm not going to argue with you." And this circuit inspector was Afrikaans speaking, and he said, no, don't you pass the bucket. Answer that question. Now that was the same inspector that walked in here and said, "You guys are doing a good job here. I see no graffiti on the wall." And funny enough, he was moved to Limpopo, where my father was the chairman of the governing body. And he phoned me and he said, "Guess who's moved into our circuit? Graffiti." And he also walked into the staff room, and he used to try and practice his English when he arrived here. And I always spoke Afrikaans to him. He said, no, I must practice my English. And then I said, "Would you like to come through to the staff room and have a cup of coffee?" And I used our coffee cups, and he said, "This is very, very nice." He says, "It's got weapons on it." And then he also said to me one winter, "It's really cold today, Rafi's on the ground." But I never ever put him down. It was corrected in GES. So hopefully his English has improved. Now, I have to say, I was the first teacher at Sir John that ever got a merit. Okay, so that is one of my tick boxes, is that I actually got my merit, and I was the first person. Then we had our staff concert. That was a highlight. That staff concert, Stephen was in it. Okay. All the staff, some of the parents, Meryl, you were the fairy godmother, she still is. It was such a joy, I tell you, and we were actually fully booked for 3 nights. All the staff were involved. That was an absolute highlight for me. And then we took a tour to America with 81 of our grade 10s, 11s and 12s. It was a camping tour, and I was telling the story this morning about sitting at one of the camping sites, and I wanted to taste a Budweiser beer. So we bought Budweiser before we arrived at the one campsite. The children were busy packing out and setting up their tents, and Mr. Vera and I took a walk down. It was a beautiful setting with a lake down at the bottom, sitting in amongst these pine trees, watching the sun setting, drinking our Budweisers. And then I said to Mr. Vera, I said, "You know, this beer is strong." So she looked at me and I said, "Don't you also see stars?" And somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Have you never ever seen fireflies before?" But I honestly thought it was the beer. And then I was asked, shortly after my child was born, I was asked to take matric biology, and I just freaked. I thought, I can't do this, I can't do this. And then somebody in the passage said to me, oh, well, now we're going to see how good a teacher you claim to be. And I thought, that's it. That's it, I'll take up the challenge. And I think in that first year I got 11 distinctions. And we enjoyed many, many more distinctions, and I was very proud that I never had one matric failure. Not even in the days when we opened our doors to all colours. So that was always the first thing I phoned Mrs. Collins when the results came out, and I'd say, what was my average? How many failed? How many distinctions? And then some of you may not know that I was very involved in netball coaching. I had quite a few children at the school that got provincial colours. I became a selector. I remember sitting on the selection panel and somebody turned to me and said, you know what, your girls don't look like they come from the south. And I looked at her and I said to her, what do girls from the south look like? But I didn't want to say anything because Forrest was on the field next door and they had little skirts and G-strings. But my girls were beautifully dressed and I was always proud of them. I was then selected to coach the primary schools, Southern Transvaal primary schools, and in fact that year we won the South African Championships. And then I went on to be Southern Transvaal umpire at nationals. I keep a low profile on that because they say, would you like to take netball? And I say, no thanks, and they leave me alone. Right, leadership camps. Yeah, I was talking about leadership camps. When they first started, I was actually appointed chief chef. I didn't kill anybody with my cooking, but I managed. And we were in charge of all the outdoor activities. If you'd seen the buses leaving here for a camp, we had old tires, ropes, barrels, you name it, because we had to build our own obstacle courses. And I was just saying to Mr. Beer last night, when I think of the obstacles that Andre Oosthuizen and I designed, some of them were really dangerous, like over a branch, going over rocks on a river, and we had these big fat girls up in the trees that had to get from one side to the other. I'm horrified to think that we put those girls up in that tree and that we never had any serious accidents. Mr. Beer was saying it's because we're older now, we see it differently. Now, I've made really close friends on the staff. That includes the secretaries, the staff, cleaning staff, but too many of you to mention by name. I think of the times that I lost my mind and had to ask you how I got to the hospital. Thank you to my friends for looking after me. And then also when I was held up at gunpoint, they were the first ones, in fact most of you, to rally around and find out if I was okay. So we share many memories that will never ever be forgotten. I've always tried my best to have an amicable relationship with everybody that I've had to work with. My motto is, if you can't be kind, at least have the decency to be vague. To all of you as a staff, I know that we can learn a lot from crayons. Some are sharp, some are pretty, some are dull. Some have weird names, and all are different colors, but they all live in the same box. Life is like a camera. Focus on what is important. Capture the good times, develop from the negatives, and if things don't work out, take another shot. And then in closing, I've learned a lot from life that sometimes the darkest times bring us to the brightest light. Brenda, I think you said that yesterday. That our most painful struggles can grant us the most necessary growth, and that the most heartbreaking losses of friendship and love can make room for the most wonderful people. I've learned that what seems like the end of the road is actually the discovery that we are meant to travel down a different path. Thank you to Mr. Mayers. I should have retired at the beginning of 2012. The Education Department wanted to retire me, and you allowed me to stay on and live my dream for a little bit longer. So I thank you. I thank all the staff, and I thank Sir John Adamson High School for a wonderful and memorable 41 years. Thank you.
Change is inevitable, and we knew that this
they would arrive. And even though we have prepared ourselves, it is so difficult to say goodbye. We are bidding farewell to 4 very special people today. Mr. McCurry, we have become so accustomed to your smiling face and presence, and we are truly going to miss you. You built a special relationship with your learners, and I witnessed that just the other day when that young boy was involved in that accident. And he was so pleased that you had taken the time to see him. And his mom especially phoned me and said, please tell Mr. McCurry that he's out of hospital and is going to be okay. You are a fine young man and a good teacher, and your new school will be a much better school with you there. Take what you have learned from us and go and create magic at your new school. We are losing 100, in fact it's over 100 years of experience today. And although we have appointed 3 teachers in these posts, they come with exactly 1 year of experience. That's quite a scary thought. It's quite ironic that Tiffany Holmes, an ex-pupil of ours, and one who was taught by Elise, should be filling the cat post. She writes her last exam today, so she is fresh out of varsity. During her interview, she mentioned to me how inspired she was by you, Elise, and that she hopes she will be as good as you one day. If she was a product of yours, we don't have to worry. She's going to be excellent. Zandile Zaisha was also an ex-pupil. She will be taking up one of the vacant posts in the EMS department. She was taught by Wendy, and she also expressed her admiration for you as her teacher. These 2 brand new teachers will begin their teaching careers here next year as you retire from yours. But we're not afraid, because your legacy will continue through these young ladies. We have you, Elise, Wendy, and Bridget, to thank for the huge impact you have already had on these youngsters. I really believe that things happen for a reason. The 3rd person who will be joining us in the NS department is a young lady with the name of Nazarene Mohammed. Her CV landed on my desk. I was impressed, and I immediately called her, not knowing that she was in a permanent post at a school up the road. On the same day, Virgil came to me to tell me about a very special teacher that he knew about, and she would be the one to fill Bridget's shoes and look after the lab. Virgil, as you heard, extremely worried about that classroom. And her name was Nazarene. She's going to feel that aura when she walks in. After interviewing her, Mr. Mayers and I knew that she was the one we wanted. She cried when she thought it would be not possible to join us because she's in a permanent post. But her determination and passion, and hopefully not too much of a bruised friendship, Mr. Mayers, her principal gave her his blessing and agreed to let her go. So she will be joining us next year. Elise and I go way back to the early 70s. We both matriculated a few years apart from a referendum. I started here in 79 and Elise in 80. Miss Miller was the deputy in those days, and we were terrified. But she saw something, and she took us under her wing. She mentored us and she guided us. Elise was the blue-eyed girl, and the staff nicknamed her Deputy Head Girl. Elise soon proved herself in the classroom, and after a visit from that inspector that Bridget was talking about, she was awarded her first merit. And it really was something special in those days and highly sought after. If you had a merit, you knew you were good. A couple of years later, she achieved her second merit, and then a third. And there were very few teachers who had 3 merits, and then they did away with the system. Elise, you are a principal's dream and an inspiration to all, and your contribution to our school will live on. We are certainly going to miss your expertise in the classroom, but most of all, we will miss your kind and gentle ways your generosity of spirit, your smile and your friendship. You deserve a rest. You certainly have earned it. And we hope that your retirement with Abby, possibly at the coast, is filled with rich blessings. Thank you. I didn't know Sir John without Bridget, because when I joined the staff, Bridget was part of the main clique. And once again, I was terrified. You also speak of being scared. No, trust me. You don't know what this clique was like. They were really scared. Elise, am I right? Sure. But I soon realized that Bridget, this lady, knew her stuff. She was an excellent phys ed teacher and later biology, also earning a couple of merits of honor. And if only the staff knew the fun that we had with those staff concerts, where you choreographed so many of the dances, but the SMT and the Swan Lake with Mr. Henke and the deputies and the HODs pirouetting in their tutus on the stage. I'm sorry, you just cannot do that. We had fun. Also lots of, I seem to remember bottles of old brown sherry. Bridget, you've been such a role model to me, and I admire you for your strength, your tenacity, and your excellence in the classroom. I would like to thank you for the love and support that you've shown. You have dedicated most of your life to Sir John, often putting the school before the family. You are so highly respected by all, and we have learned so much from you. You have been such a good mentor to so many, and your legacy will live on. There are so many things that we will miss about you. Your presence at our table, the anchor, as so many call it. But it must be your crazy, wacky sense of humour that we will all miss most of all. You were the reason that we left the staff room in the morning with a smile on our face. Bridget was never afraid of a challenge, and she will be taking up a post at the private school teaching Afrikaans. You are brave. Good luck, Bridget, as you start this new journey. And you know that we're going to see you often in the future. Wendy, no, you are a true legend. And I think everyone has said it. Just observing the way that the staff respect you and look up to you. The special relationship that you have with all the teachers and the children. You are a true inspiration to all. Sir John has been your life for so long, and I know that this change is not easy for you. Your excellence in all that you did, your attention to detail is phenomenal. Your sharp wit, your general knowledge and memory for names and years left us speechless many times. I had the privilege of teaching Leanne and Haley Sue, and your girls and your grandchildren are a testimony to you and Les. I do not know anyone who has such integrity, and your strength of character, especially when faced with adversity, is admirable. You have been and always will be a loyal member of Sir John. The friendship, love and support that you have shown me over the years I will never forget. Your legacy will live on. You have exciting things to look forward to. Becoming a grand for the third time, early next year. You are also just around the corner, and we know that you won't be able to stay away for long. You will be here, sharing a cup of coffee with us. These three ladies and their dedication to Sir John will be sorely missed, but the school will continue to benefit in years to come from their contributions. And although you will no longer occupy your chairs in the staff room, you will always be a part of our lives. We have shared precious memories over the years, and true friends are never far away. I know that Sir John means the world to you, but know that you mean the world to us. You have left an indelible mark on the school and in all our lives. We salute you.